Voting isn't a privilege, it's a right. And frankly, it's a right we barely see used in so-called off-election years. Unfortunately, voter turnout is typically very low unless there's a presidential race or, as we saw in Kansas last year, a high-profile ballot issue like abortion rights. Turnout is even lower in local elections. A little more than 13% of registered voters cast their ballot in Kansas City's municipal elections in June. 13%. That's not even considering the people who are eligible and aren't yet registered to vote. There's a major push this year to grow those numbers and make sure people are signed up to vote. In fact, last week on National Voter Registration Day, groups across the country and here at home worked to get the word out and help people understand that they could be the difference on Election Day.
People will tell you, well, my vote doesn't make a difference. That's not true. Elections have been won with one vote.
It's a lot of things going on, especially that are going to affect our future and who's representing us in the office. And I just feel like, if we're going to take any type of action, it starts here.
Organizers say as many as 1 in 4 eligible Americans aren't registered to vote right now. So you'll likely see more of these drives to boost registration numbers, especially ahead of the 2024 elections. Here to discuss the hurdles in the months ahead and what's being done, please welcome Denise Lieberman, Director and General Counsel of the Missouri Voter Protection Coalition, a nonpartisan watchdog group. Denise, welcome back. First off, I have to ask, how do you bridge that gap and get people more involved, more invested in the civic process?
Absolutely. It involves reaching out to communities, to trusted communities. There was a recent study that showed that more than 60% of Americans said they had never even been asked to register to vote. It starts simply with being in the community and asking. Every voice does make a difference. And when we can get out in communities and make communities aware that they can make a difference right at home in their own futures, we believe that we can get more people to participate at the table.
We just mentioned 13% of voters turned out for the Kansas City municipal elections in June. That seems really low. Are you noticing a sense of, my vote doesn't count? Because in these local elections, it really does matter.
Local elections really matter. That's where the rubber meets the road, and that's really where citizens can have the biggest impact on the day-to-day lives of themselves, their families, and other members of their communities. There's been a lot of vitriol, and that's been exacerbated by a lot of disinformation and fear-mongering about voting. And frankly, the process is unnecessarily hard and sometimes confusing. That's why so many nonpartisan organizations have dedicated themselves to getting out on the streets, getting out in their communities to help explain the rules of the road and help make sure their fellow community members are registered to vote. The Missouri Voter Protection Coalition is dedicated to ensuring that every eligible Missourian is able to make their voices heard at the polls.
What are the biggest roadblocks right now?
Well, there are a number of roadblocks. One is that the process can be kind of confusing and laws can change. There's a law that was passed in Missouri in 2022, but parts of it have been blocked by a court. And many organizations and individuals aren't exactly sure if they are allowed to register people to vote. I'm here to say that yes, they are. Any Missourian can help register their friends and family and their neighbors to vote, to join voter registration drives. And it's a perfect time to double check to make sure that your voter registration is up to date and that you are ready to go for the upcoming special elections in Kansas City in November, and of course, the big elections heading our way in 2024.
Well, let's talk about that, because I know we're not in a so-called major election year, right? But there are, as we said, some local, some regional decisions to make. There is that big presidential race on the horizon. What's going on behind the scenes right now, just to make sure that voters, first off, know their rights, and secondly, are ready?
Well, Missouri's voter advocates are hard at work because we know that there is no downtime. And the truth is that it's times just like now, before we head into the political fray, that working to ensure voter accessibility is most important. We are working with local election officials. We're working with the Secretary of State's office. We do have some lawsuits in the work to help ensure that voters don't face undue and unnecessary barriers that could hamper their ability to make their voices heard on Election Day. We're working to ensure that voters who need assistance because of disability or age or literacy are able to get assistance at the polls. We're working to ensure that voters can show a range of identification to cast their ballots. And we're working to ensure that voter registration is open and accessible to all.
All right, we'll leave it there. Denise Lieberman with Missouri Voter Protection Coalition. Thanks for checking in again with your progress report. Appreciate your insight. You know, it is easier than you think to check the voter registration deadlines and requirements where you live. Get started online right now at vote.gov.